All right, so to continue the story, before I continue, I kind of want to just reiterate this because my grandpa asked me before, like, why do you want people to know that you were such a good basketball player? Like, why do you care if, I know or your parents, or you tell, why do you tell the people, like, why do you care? This is a reason. I guess it's part of the reason. There's probably more reasons, but, um, growing up, my dad and I did constant basketball. Like my dad took me everywhere. We would go to gyms, find open gyms. We would go to CSUN. We'd go to all these different places, shoot around. Me and dad played basketball all day, every day. And my dad would take off work every day, because he worked as a surgeon, but he would take off work. He set up time so he could always come home, and we would always shoot baskets every single day. And people don't realize that I really was really good. Like I had some videos that were just incredible. But, I was scoring 40 points a game, 30 points a game as a 9-year-old up to 12, and I was doing really well. Even when I got the shoot away, I was doing very well. But the shoot away did mess up my shot, and then my dad tried to fix it, and then it messed up things more because I shot sideways before. My dad tried to make me shoot sideways, and I can go into details of what happened, but I don't want to make good shooters think. But, all I did was play basketball, and I did it with my dad. And this is the thing is like, my dad thought I was going to play in the NBA. He even said it. He was like, not a lot of players who look like you are going to play in the NBA. But, I think that you have a chance. There's not many players who look like you that can play like you. And you basically saying like you're white and you're good at basketball. And he thought I was going to play in the NBA. And, you could even ask Kenny. Kenny said, Malik's dad said that my dad said that thought I was going to play in the NBA. And my dad took me everywhere. And I was really good. Like I had videos and I did things that nobody does. And I played against Jrue Holiday. And my friend said, "You're better than Jrue Holiday. You're better than these guys." You could ask people who knew me back then. They would say that. But like I said, the shoot away did mess up my shot. Now, the reason why I bring it up is because, I remember one of my friends, that people assume that I must have been a bad guy, and that's why my dad stopped talking to me, or that I must be just making it up. They must think that I'm just a weirdo, and like I was just always not that great of a person, and that's why my parents don't care about me. Oh, your parents must not care about you because you must have always been a piece of shit or something. No. Like I remember I showed my friend Rohan, he's an Indian guy who was staying with me for a little bit. I showed him a video of me shooting with my dad, and I was like making every single shot. It's like, and this is when I was shooting overhead before the shoot away, right before my dad got the shoot away, and I was shooting overhead, and I was making every single shot. My friend was like, and my dad's out there passing me every shot. And my dad's like, "Yeah, those are good. That's really good, And he's passing me, and I'm making every single shot. My friend was like, "Dude, you were amazing. Like, you could dribble really good. You make every single shot." He's like, "And it seems like you and your dad got along really well." He's like, "What happened?" He's like, "Why won't your dad talk to you now? Like, that's crazy." And I was like, "Yeah, it was because of the shoot away machine. And that's what messed it up. Because it messed up my shot, and that caused a conflict with me and my dad." And then, and we didn't know it was a shoot away machine though. That was the biggest problem. And then my grandpa comes in and he's like, "Oh, Ryan just wants independence, and he just he's just trying to force his dad. My dad will help me every single day all my life, and that's why I felt like I needed him. And he's like, he's just forcing it. Ryan's just trying to make things happen. And you can't force things or make things happen. You can't force your dad to help you. You can't force, And that's my mom and dad are like, "Yeah, you can't force things, Ryan." And then later they're like, after I showed them the quadrum model, "Yeah, you can't force us to ever talk to you again. You can't force us to be, So basically what I feel like is my grandpa set up conditions that were like really terrible for me. But my point though is my parents didn't have me do anything else. All I did was play basketball. Like my dad would take me to Orange County, to this place. I was playing on the best teams in the country. And I was playing basketball all the time. And I didn't learn any musical instrument. I was very musical. I did rap music. I was very musical. And I had symphonies in my head. Like if I had a son like me, I would have had him playing instruments. I would have had him doing that stuff. My mom and dad just wanted me to focus on basketball because they didn't want any distractions. And my mom thought, "Yeah, Ryan just, I don't want to give him extra anxiety. Just do the basketball." And they thought I was gonna be really good, and I was gonna be really good. If it wasn't for the shoot away, I would have been. But they're like, "Yeah." So that I didn't do anything else other than basketball. So they all kind of handicapped me. I didn't go do any camps. My parents didn't want me going to any friends' houses because I would be sleeping over and I wouldn't get good sleep. My parents didn't want me to do anything. All they wanted me to do was play basketball, and that's all that I did, So, and I didn't learn anything else. I didn't learn any instruments. I didn't go to any, I didn't do any, and this is the other thing is my mom and dad did everything for me. So, I never once made my bed. My mom made my bed every day, or I had cleaning ladies do it. Or, I never once cleaned. I never once did the dishes. I never once did one thing. My mom did every single thing for me. My mom even packed my bags for school. My mom did everything for me. And so it's like, and then, now she doesn't want to do anything. I just want him to be independent. I don't want anything to do with him. But, and so people might think, oh, well, your mom must have always been like that. Your mom must have always been cold and callous and mean. And same thing with your dad. They must have always been like that. They must have always hated you. And then that reflects on you. Then people think, oh, yeah, that guy must be a piece of shit. Like, he must have always been a piece of shit. And that's why his parents don't like him. No, my parents loved me. My parents did everything with me. They were doing everything for me. My dad was going to everything with me. My dad was like my number one fan. My dad thought I was the coolest thing ever. I was starting point guard on varsity as a freshman, and he liked that, even though he didn't think I was going to, because the shoot-away had messed up my shot at the time, but we didn't know it was a shoot-away. But, my dad did everything. Never, so people might think, oh, why are you upset? You're probably always a piece of shit, and your family always probably didn't like you because people victim blame, and they probably think, oh, yeah, well, you're just probably a piece of shit. No, I was the best. And it wasn't just basketball. I was the best at track. I got gold medals, silver medals, and everything in track. In soccer, I was the best on the team. The coaches were saying that I should stick with soccer and I could be a professional soccer player. I was the best at baseball. I got the MVP on my baseball team. I was the best at everything I did. So I don't want people to get in their mind like, oh, well, Ryan must have been a piece of shit, and that's why his family doesn't like him. No, I was the best. It was a shoot-away machine messed up my shot, and it messed things up with my mom and dad. And I want to, and I don't want people to think it's something wrong with me, So, but I think it's important. I also bring this up because my mom and dad did everything for me. So I didn't know how to do anything. So when the shoot-away messed up my shot and they kicked me out of the house, my grandma was like, Ryan just wants to be independent. Just make him independent. And my mom's like, okay, just make him independent. Yeah, we hate him. Because my mom was angry about my shot. She was like, what's wrong with your shot? What the hell is wrong with you? You can't handle the pressure? No, it wasn't because I couldn't handle the pressure. It was a shoot-away machine. But she's like, what's wrong with you? And she started to hate me. And I was trying to get help from my dad. And my dad always helped me. But me and my dad are having conflict. My dad's like, what's wrong with you? Shoot sideways. It was because I'm picking the ball from a rack. I can't shoot sideways. And then he told me to shoot sideways incorrectly. Because I used to shoot sideways based on how I moved in the shots. But I feel like I need his help. Because I don't know how to fix my shot. Because I was always unconscious. That's why I was so good. And the reason why I was always able to be unconscious is because my dad helped me all the time. So I never had to think. So I'm like, I need my dad's help. My dad's like, no, what's wrong? Oh, and so we're getting in arguments, and then he's like, I give up. But I'm like, Dad, I need your help still. But my dad's like, I give up. You suck now. I can't help you. And then my grandpa tries to blame me. He's like, well, why did you want to have your dad help you? He never played basketball. Again, you're the problem, Ryan. Let's always blame the victim. You're the problem. No, my dad always helped me, and he was a really good coach. He was the reason I was considered the best shooter in the country. So yeah, I'm like, Dad, can you please? I need your help. And then so my grandpa's like, well, you can't force things, If you're in the flow, you just realize everything is just fine. It must be Ryan has anxiety problems. Like, he didn't say anxiety problems, but that's what he's trying to insinuate. Like, you just need to accept everything's just fine. Just the universe is moving toward oneness, and the universe, Martin Luther King, my grandpa be like, Martin Luther King said the arc of the universe bends towards justice. Everything's working out. That it's best to be optimistic and just have trust. Everything is fine, and you can't force things. Don't force your dad. You can't force. But I needed help from my dad, and my dad wanted to help me too, but it was a problem because of the shoot-away, and it was just a terrible situation. But then my mom's like, yeah, you can't force things. You can't make things happen. And to this day, they're still stuck in that mode, and they're like, yeah, Ryan, we're never gonna see you. You can't force us to see you. You can't make things happen. You can't make us see you. You can't make us have anything to do with you. We don't want anything to do with you. So and like I said, I haven't really seen them talk to my parents since high school. I haven't really seen my parents since high school. And it's like, what is it, 20? So, and that's another thing. People are going to think like, oh, well, you must have, and this is the other thing. I'm in an apartment where there's all these cars constantly. There's an alleyway. It bothers me. All the cars constantly making noise. And I want to get out of here, but my mom doesn't want me to because my mom wants me to stay here, But my point is, yeah, so basically my mom and dad did everything for me. So but then they told me to now they're like, okay, well, let's make him independent. Let's get rid of him. Let's not have anything to do with him. We'll never talk to him again. And they're thinking that that's what my grandpa's teaching. So they think what they're doing is right. And then people are going to assume like, oh yeah, well, they must have tried to see him and he must have been acting crazy and he must have, no, they haven't even tried. I've been trying to see them since high school, really. I haven't really seen them. I haven't spent a good amount of time with them since high school. I maybe saw them a couple times in college, like for a couple hours, maybe like an hour, like maybe 2-3 times in college. And maybe like 1 or 2 times after college for 5 minutes when my dad was trying to kick me out of my grandma's house. And that's it. I haven't seen them, really. And I'm trying to. So people are going to assume, like, people are always going to blame the victim. That's a conservative nature. They're going to be like, oh, well, you must have been a really bad guy. No, that's not the case. But then my other big point is like when my dad kicked me out of my house in like the 11th grade after he was beating me up because of the shoot away machine, and there was a problem because I wanted help. He was like, "You're gonna ask me again? You're gonna ask me again? Okay." And he starts, grabs me a headlock, throws me to the ground, bangs my head into the ground, doing all that. I just needed help with my shot, and I just want to shoot 15 minutes, whatever. And, oh, well, now people are going to victim blame. He must have obsessive, that's what my mom and dad want. He must have obsessive compulsive disorder. He must be obsessive. No, if it wasn't for the shoot away machine, none of this stuff would have happened. None of it would have happened. It was a tragedy with the shoot away machine. So, but everyone wants to try to make me a bad guy, or they want to make me a bad guy, blame the victim type of thing. And that's why I think I was gravitated so much toward leftism, and I hated my grandpa's teaching because I always saw my grandpa's teachings as such victim blaming. Oh, take responsibility for everything. I'm like, dude, no, I'm a victim in this situation. So, and my grandpa would even admit, if you're in the flow, you can acknowledge when that is the case. You can acknowledge sometimes you don't have to take responsibility for something. But like I said, I do take responsibility for I was always anti-white, kind of communist, leftist. And I think that maybe it was best that I went through this because it kind of put me through so much pain that it broke me out of it. And I'm going to get to that. But, yeah, but my point though too is, like, my mom and dad did everything for me. My mom did everything, and then they kicked me out. And then, so I didn't know how to do anything. So my mom never taught me how to cook. I never learned how to cook. My mom cleaned for me, cooked for me. Never once made my bed. Never once had to do one thing. I never had to do a chore ever in my life. My mom had cleaning ladies, or she did everything. So, like I said, even like my books, my mom would pack my books. My mom would do literally everything. The only thing I did was brush my teeth, maybe. Or take my own shower. But, that's probably about it. That's the only thing. Like, my mom did everything. And that's what also makes it crazy. She did everything for me. And now she's like, I don't want anything to do with him. I just want him independent. But she never taught me how to do anything. So how am I supposed to do anything? So she threw me to the side and sort of like, okay, make him independent. But they never taught me how to be independent. They never taught me how to do one thing. So that's what ended up happening. Since 11th grade in high school, I haven't really seen my mom and dad. And I wanted to, and I discovered a theory of everything, and I was hoping that when I discovered it, they would be happy with me, and that would maybe bring them back to me. I thought they would be like, wow, good job, Ryan. This is amazing. And that would bring me back into their graces, and they would accept me back. But it turned out just the opposite. When I showed them but my grandpa was like, oh, that's because you're software, because he didn't believe the Quadramodel. He was like, yeah, you're software. You wanted to get your mom and dad to take care of you again. It's because you wanted to be independent. You wanted to be dependent, and it was a software issue. That's why you showed your mom and dad the Quadramodel. No, I wanted to make them to help. I hoped it would make my life easier. I hoped it would make my life better when I showed them the Quadramodel. But my grandpa didn't believe the Quadramodel. He was like, oh, well, those are software issue, because he thought it was a software issue. And this is my grandpa saying. My grandpa saying was like, don't believe anything. Everything's energy. Don't believe anything. And you believe the Quadramodel, and you're identifying with the Quadramodel, so you're not in the flow. If you believe anything, you're attached to it, and you can't be open to inspiration. No, well, it's the truth. The Quadramodel is true about reality, and my grandpa just didn't see that. He didn't know that. So it's just a tragic situation altogether. And then so my grandpa's like, well, if we make him more independent and he gets a job and stuff, maybe he'll let go of the Quadramodel, and he'll, my grandpa thought it was a delusion. He was like, he'll let go of it. He'll strengthen his ego. The reason why he had developed the Quadramodel is so he could stay dependent on his parents And then, we got to make him independent. And my mom was like, yeah, make him independent. My mom was like, make him independent. I don't want anything to do with him. No, the reason why I showed them the quadrant model was I hoped it would make my life easier. I hoped that I wouldn't be forced to be independent. I hoped that my mom and dad would be able to talk to me, see me, be happy with me, support me again. But they did the opposite. They said, oh, you have schizophrenia. And then my grandpa's like, yeah, he needs to just become independent. And because this is just an ego strategy to stay dependent on his mom and dad. So again, it's just a wild, crazy thing. But I just bring that up because I think it's important that people know that I wasn't always a piece of shit. My mom and dad loved me growing up. My mom and dad, like I said, in my book, I wanted to talk about this in my book. My mom and dad didn't like my sister. They treated her like shit. And my mom and dad go to when I was at my sister's soccer game, and my mom and dad were like, why does Leah think so much? She sucks. Like, what does she think so much? Ryan, my mom said, Ryan doesn't think when he plays. Like, he doesn't think, he just plays. And my mom's like, all into me, and my dad's all into me. Like, yeah, Ryan's the best. I don't know why Leah thinks so much. And they treated her like shit. Like, one time my sister came home, my mom and dad were like, are you on drugs, Leah? And they're like yelling at her. They would yell at her. One time I never did bad stuff. I accidentally broke what is it called? A crystal crystal salt shaker or something. It was worth a lot of money. And my mom and dad assumed it was my sister. So they started screaming at my sister. And my sister's crying. And then I told my mom, I was like, Mom, it wasn't Leah. It was me. I broke it. And then my mom was like, oh. And then she didn't yell at me at all. And I already picked up on this. Because I knew I never could do anything wrong for them. They loved everything about me. That was the thing. And this is what my uncle was saying. My uncle was like, dude, your parents spoiled you. They did everything for you. They thought that you were the greatest thing in history. They thought you were going to play in the NBA. This is what my uncle was telling me. This is my dad's brother. He was like, and now that you didn't play in the NBA and that things didn't work out, it was because of the shoot-away machine and stuff. But now things didn't work out. Now they just throw you to the side and they don't give a shit about you. That's what my uncle loved it, because my uncle hates my dad. And my uncle hates my mom because my mom called my uncle a faggot. And I don't want to get into that, but my mom, I'm going to get into this later. But yeah, my uncle was like, dude, like, it's kind of fucked up what your parents did. And I was like, yeah, it is. It is. And so, but yeah, like I couldn't do anything wrong growing up, and everything I did was good. And like I said, I broke the freaking thing. I was the one who did it. They're screaming at my sister, but then I tell them, and then I later asked my mom, like, why did you yell at Leah but not me? And my mom was like, because you're a good boy. You don't do bad things. You're a good boy. She's not. She said something like that. Like, she's not. And now it's the complete opposite. Now my mom and dad are like, oh, Leah's awesome. Like, my sister lives like right near my mom and dad. Like, she lives like right next. And they're like, oh, we love Leah. Oh, I don't want anything to do with Ryan. Ryan's a piece of shit. It's fucked up, dude. But I'll continue with the stories in the next.